She said that American soccer fans, most of them aren't smart. They don't know the game. They don't understand.
Gio.
That guy Gazpacho.
Bournemouth can take a lame gorilla, okay?
Right, did you know that Arsenal died?
These got me buzzing.
Up the topies. It's hard to up them anyway.
I'm not even going to comment on that.
Welcome back to another episode of Footy with the Boys. Another episode without all three. We are going to leave you guys waiting for the next time we're all three hosts together, but we have a great episode for you. We, of course, going to have some U.S. men's national team updates in terms of the manager search, in terms of some transfer rumors. But first, we're going to go through some other transfer rumors and some big news around the world of soccer here. Then we will get into the Olympics for the U.S., a little update on the U20 team, and a certain player named Gio Reyna and his transfer rumors, as well as all the other updates for the U.S. Mike, let's get into it. Some big news here. Madrid coming out with a new jersey, a Houston Dynamo-esque jersey here. That one is not it, but it is an all-orange jersey, all-orange Real Madrid jersey that they're coming out with. Kind of a throwback Houston Dynamo, a Wolves-esque jersey, but also prime Ronaldo jersey. Is it a drip?
Oh, that's a little bit of a drip.
These ones?
Yeah.
Faucet.
I remember when they used to have something pretty similar to that. I think it's decent. Maybe a little too much of a Halloween colorway with the black stripes, but I see the vision.
I still think their purple alternate jersey is the one that I would go for the most. I think that one's the most iconic, but the orange, not bad. A lot of good memories for Real Madrid fans in those. Other big news around the world of footy is Copa America. We already did a full video on it, but now there are plenty of lawsuits, as we very easily predicted was going to happen. It looks like they're all coming in around $100,000 per suit against Hard Rock and CONMEBOL here. I mean, that was to be expected. It said there was like 120 medical instances or incidents at the stadium, like 37 arrests, 55 detainments. There was a whole lot of everything happening. Who does this really fall on? Is it Hard Rock that's going to get the brunt of it? Or I'd imagine it'd be CONMEBOL with this class action suit is going to have to pay the most, right?
I think both. I think both are going to try to find some sort of settlement with the people who are suing them and try to pay off and try to maintain image because they know they've done wrong. They're both culpable, especially CONMEBOL. And I think paying money is the way to go.
Yeah, I do think that Hard Rock might also launch some suits against CONMEBOL for the damage done to their stadium by their fans
and
by
their image.
Event. So it's going to be a whole lot of lawsuits to go around here, and I'm sure that this is just the start of it. And finally,
I might have a lawsuit.
You might from the trauma you got from watching it, maybe. But speaking of trauma, our Manchester United fans that had trauma from watching Erik ten Hag ball last season may want to tune out for the next 30 seconds because Erik ten Hag said that the only manager that's had a better influence since he came to the Premier League is Pep Guardiola. He has won 2 trophies. He's also guided Manchester United to their lowest table position in history. That is influencing. He didn't say positive or negative.
That's
there.
Influence,
There's
dude.
influence there.
That's influencing.
I mean, historically, influencing.
Yeah. He loves to talk, dude. He's great at talking. Excuses.
Oh.
Us, that's 10 Hags.
Hang on.
Oh, did I freeze?
Yeah,
We did lose you for a quick second there. You said excuses.
Apologies for my bad internet. I blame Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford for my bad internet, just like Ten Hag would. Yeah, it's not surprising. I mean, the dude is a walking soundbite. He's nowhere near. I mean, Mikel Arteta's still around. Jurgen Klopp's not coaching anymore, but still much more influential, even without a job. Dude's a clown. He needs to really do something this season to prove that he is worth a damn, that he is the manager that people think he could be, that he once was with Ajax.
Yeah, well, this is a major season for him to prove it, I think. Things start off how they were last season. He is out before the halfway point. Let's get into some transfer news. Some transfer news that we haven't really gotten too far into. We got into a little bit last episode. Now we get a lot more rumors coming out. Fabrizio Romano is a busy man this time of the season. Calafiori to Arsenal is, I mean, not officially confirmed, but it is damn near. Fabrizio Romano is tweeting just about every 5 minutes about it, saying it's close, it's pretty close, it's near. Just any adjective you can say for almost done is what Fabrizio Romano is going to tweet every other 15 minutes because he gets a crazy amount of impressions. Mike, is this a good deal here? I mean, 40 million euros is what it's looking like. But they bought Jurrien Timber, who's supposed to play that kind of outside back, center back type role. Ben White's already a center back, kind of playing right back. They just have now 5 center backs that they want to play against across their back line. And I don't know. It seems like maybe that money could have been invested to really shore up a Nico Williams transfer, to shore a more prolific striker. Because I don't believe that much in Havertz right now, or maybe even like a Marino in the center. What do you think of this move here for Calafiori? Fiore?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's interesting. I think he's a great player. Getting this player, no issue with it. He's talented, had a great Euro. He's young. I could see what Arteta wants to do, playing him at left back most likely. I don't think he loves his options right now. Jakub Kivier's solid, but Calafiori's better. Zinchenko has his issues, much different style of a player. And then Timber, I think, more of a right back than a natural left back. So I understand it, but I agree with you. If this is the only transfer that Arsenal has this summer, it's really confusing because there are other areas in the field that need attention, that need players, that need replacements. I mean, Thomas Partey's gone. You don't have really a natural 6 in this team unless Declan Rice is going to assume that coming back from his 8 role that he played a lot last year. The striker option's still worrying with Kai Havertz. Is he going to be enough? Looks like Eddie Nketiah is going out the door. We'll talk about that. And then the left wing, unless Martinelli has a real resurgence, there's no competition. I mean, there's no other wingers. There's no competition for Saka still. These are the problems that were there last year, the year before, and areas that you think they would address. So I don't think this is the only signing they'll make. If it is, it's problematic.
Yeah, I think just going into a season with Trossard and Martinelli as your wingers again, although I'm not an Arsenal fan, Nico, I'm sure, would have his own thoughts on it once he's back, but would not make me feel comfortable if I were an Arsenal fan trying to get over that hump. But speaking of Eddie Nketiah, he is rumored to maybe be potentially joining Olympique Marseille and Højbjerg, Pierre-Emerick Højbjerg, or not Emmerich, Jesus, I'm Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Yeah, but Højbjerg joining Marseille here, so cross London rivals, maybe potentially getting reunited there in Marseille. Keep Marseille in your thoughts here for some later rumors here, but Marseille are making some moves, and I'm not sure if I'm too sold on Nketiah for the price tag that Arsenal asked for. I believe it's about 50 million, but I mean, if somebody's gonna pay it, fuck, there you go. Moving to the Nico Williams we talked about for a potential Arsenal. PSG have now entered the chat for him, and what that means is Barcelona, who are scraping together money to see if they could possibly get him or even register him if they did get him, makes it a bit harder for them. And it also makes it a bit harder for Arsenal, who do have the money, but not as much as PSG. They have all the oil money in the world. They're trying to replace Mbappe. Nico Williams would be a decent start to that. Do you think Barcelona still has a favorite shot in this one, or are they kind of just dropping down that ladder as time goes on here and interest grows?
Don't think they'll be able to compete money-wise. I think PSG can offer significantly more. I think the advantage Barcelona might have is the players' wishes. I think he kind of feels like he'd want to go to Barcelona. He's obviously got a lot of friends there from the international team. Already plays in Spain. And personally, if I'm Nico Williams, I don't want to go to PSG for a variety of reasons. I don't think the level of play is all that great in the league, obviously. There's always issues with big players. And then the competition. He's got dudes like Barcola, Dembele, Asensio, plenty of wingers that are going to give him a real battle for playing time.
Yep, and this is another thing that I think we'll touch on a little bit later, but moves to PSG, I just don't really help the footballing career in terms of optics and how people think of you.
Not.
We will get into that a little bit later when we go over a certain list that ESPN released here at the end of our transfer segment. But yeah, a move to PSG at this point of his career, I think, would hurt the legacy if he goes to Barcelona. Although, yeah, they're scraping pennies and pulling the 50 millionth lever for money, it still helps his legacy more. And with him and Yamal, I mean, that would be a team to see. Even Arsenal, that's Premier League, that's legacy there. But there are some other things around the Premier League and potential moves. With Manchester United, they have been moving like none other this summer, bringing already Lenny Yoro and spending a fucking shit ton on him. Now rumored with Ugarte, rumored with Richard Rios. Now it is believed that personal terms, Xerxes already confirmed, but personal terms agreed with Ugarte. Ugarte, Manu, Pivot. Is that a good combo, you think, there?
I like it. Yeah. I think Ugarte is a phenomenal player. I think he's a player that Man U needs to look to sign. It's a good decision. This is the biggest area of weakness on their in the field, I think. Maybe Casemiro's got another season in him, but looked real poor last year. And this dude's a warrior. You rebuild the midfield completely with this signing. Young 1-2 with him and Mainu. Could see it being a bit exposed in the Premier League, at least to start with, but definitely something to grow with.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly gives Bruno Fernandes a lot to attack off of.
Up for creative, right?
Two more ones that will close down shop, get you control, and then kind of allow Bruno to do his thing above. And certainly we've all seen what Bruno can do when he's in a good team, has the opportunities. So certainly give him some freedom to attack. But speaking of another attacking mid in Manchester, Kevin De Bruyne turns down Saudi Arabia, maybe doing his one last year in the Premier League with Pep Guardiola's one last year with Man City here. KDB, is he going to be the same guy this season? I think once you really start entertaining that idea of Saudi Arabia is maybe when you can somewhat admit to yourself, maybe it's starting to go downhill a bit, but I mean, he's still at such an absurd level. Is that what you expect to continue the same KDB here? Or do you expect some bit of regression from him?
It's a tough one because we could say he regressed last year, not maybe based off
Mostly
his play,
injury,
but the injury, right? But he's definitely a step slower than he used to be, as everybody is when they get to their mid-30s. But the specialness, the creative, the flair, what makes him Kevin De Bruyne, it's still there. The final ball, I think he's that good of a player that he can really do it at the high level as long as he's in the game. And if he's staying, if he's passing on the money, which he talked about, generational money being a real factor in his decision, if he's willing to pass on that for another year, it seems like he's invested in the club, wants to make another push for probably a Champions League. And he's not a dude who's had a whole lot of personal accolades. He's never really been in the contention for a Ballon d'Or. If he can have another full season with Man City, they can win things. He could be involved with goals and assists like he has been. With the current player pool, that could be a swan song. It could be a one final push and walk out with a golden ball before he goes and gets his money.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the way he plays, it's not necessarily he needs his physical attributes, his sprinting, his dribbling.
No, that's
to
a part
be
of his game,
special.
but it's not.
Really his passing is the most special part, his vision. So you'd imagine that Premier League, yeah, maybe at a certain point it starts to slow down because it is such a physical league, but just about every other league where you have a little bit more time, I mean, he's going to be special. He could be very special for years to come, and certainly with Saudi Arabia. I mean, that opportunity is going to be there for a while for him. But Manchester City also maybe considering some replacements, considering Eze from Crystal Palace coming in. Is this just the greed they talk about in the Bible here, Mike? I mean, this is how much more talent could you possibly get on this side? Just stealing everything.
Greed, dude. One of the 7 deadly sins is gluttony. Pep just buys and buys and buys every single year. I mean, we saw it with Doku last year. Mateus Nunes. Doku ended up playing a lot. Nunes did not. Calvin Phillips prior. Jack Grealish was a $100 million man that they can afford to sit on the bench. Julian Alvarez. I mean, player. They just sign. He's a great player. Phenomenal. I can't say anything about his skill. But does he get into this Man City team? I don't really think so. He's very similar positionally to guys who are better than him and who are cemented into this Man City team. And he's a really skillful player, a flair player that plays in a Crystal Palace team. So it would be a huge adjustment for him tactically. I hope it doesn't happen for his sake.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see him stick at Crystal Palace and develop a little bit longer and go to some place that is not Man City. Man City is not really the place I want to see a lot of star talent go because it just seems to kind of get diluted there with everybody else that's also a star and maybe sit on the bench, not get as much play time as he should, and become a part of the cog of the machine.
Exactly.
But Manchester United also trying to add even more stars to their squad. Really not at all on the same level as Manchester City right now, but trying to get there with potentially trying to sign De Ligt. That offer has been turned down. Do you think they keep going for this, Mike? They already signed one man. I mean, only 18, but is that enough coverage for their center back room? It was awfully thin last season. But how much can you really invest?
It is awfully thin. I saw the Bayern fans sign petitions for the Bayern board to not sell De Ligt because they really rate him as a player, want to see him get another go at the club. He hasn't really made himself the starter there ever with injury or preference. When Tuchel was coaching, he liked Upamecano. He liked other players. But this is definitely a player, man, you should go for. Skill level, physicality. They need a big center back if he's going to play next to Lisandro Martinez or Yoro, who's very young. A center back that's very good in the air, that's played super high level, has made deep Champions League runs. This is a perfect guy for them to sign. Makes their backline really deep, the opposite of that they've had for several years now. If they can get it done, they have to, because it could be their best signing in a number of years.
Yep. Would you rather De Ligt or would you rather have them get Richard Rios, you think? That's the other big name that I've seen them bidding for.
De Ligt for sure. I think he's a better player. I love Richard Rios. Phenomenal watching him this Copa America, but I don't see the fit at Manchester United. I don't think he's an Erik ten Hag player. I think he'll get lost in the mix. He's not Antony, but I could see an Antony type situation occurring, which is not good for anybody.
That might be a bit of a shot at Richard Rios there. He was
definitely not
in Copa America. But
maybe it's a little bit of charity for Antony.
Yeah, that maybe. Yeah, well, we'll frame it that way. Just very nice to Antony there. And finally, before we get into our ESPN list, our final transfer rumor includes our American star boy, Gio Reyna, who, Palmer, if you can bring that tweet up. Unfortunately, according to Sky Sports, Gio Reyna's time in Borussia Dortmund squad is over. He obviously had that spell at Nottingham Forest that did not really go that well either. But it does say that with Julian Brandt there, with Kjell Watchen coming up and Cherky, personnel personal terms, I believe, were accepted within him and Dortmund. Obviously, that one's not complete, but it was already hard getting him in last season with Julian Brandt playing well and him playing in that same exact position. He was rumored with Marseille. We talked about them earlier with some potential transfers with Nketiah, with Højbjerg. Gio Reyna going to Marseille, Mike. What would you think of that move for Gio, and what do we need to see from Gio? Because to me, I mean, just get a place where he can play, because anytime you watch him play, he's damn good. He just needs to continue to play.
I love it. If he's going to play, they are making a whole lot of signings. I mean, if you're going to pay $50 million for Eddie Nketiah, save the money and pay $5 million for Gio Reyna. I can't imagine the transfer fee is going to be big. He needs to play. It's exactly right. He needs to get consistent minutes. He's a young player. He's still developing. And he doesn't always look on the money when we see him play, because he's not. He don't really progress without getting consistent minutes. We saw it with Pulisic at Chelsea a little bit, and we've seen what he's done now that he's playing a ton at AC Milan. Gio needs to find a similar situation for himself.
Yeah, I think he really needs to find a manager that sees him exactly in the project as the starter and gives him his run out on the field. But, I think really wherever that may be, I know there was some people shouting MLS.
At the same
I thought
time,
that was a bit crazy, but
Gio's got to find something he could buy into. I don't think the Nottingham Forest fit was good. It started off good at Dortmund, and then it went sour with managers, with too many players, with not getting preferences in American. He needs to find a mutual fit where they love him and he's bought into the progress.
Yeah, I'm down for him to go to a smaller club that will just play him a shit ton and he can truly show who he is. Because I think after a year or two at a smaller club and he shows, oh shit, that's Gio Reyna, and he knocks off some of that rust, it's going to be the same situation of Pulisic where you're like, holy shit. Yeah, no, he's insanely good. And he was sat on the bench doing absolutely nothing at Chelsea for Pulisic and for Dortmund and Nottingham Forest for Reyna here. So certainly we'll be keeping you guys updated on that, as we always do with any Gio Reyna news. But let's get straight into it, Mike, because ESPN released a top 25 players of the 21st century list here. We have a tweet listing it all off here. Starts with Messi, Ronaldo, of course, Henry third, Zidane fourth, Modric in fifth, Mbappe sixth, Mike. Mbappe's in sixth here. Scrolling down the list, all the way down to number 20 is where we see Neymar. What do you make of that alone? Because a lot of people have been talking about this list and how wild it is on many accounts. I mean, Patrick Vieira all the way down there at 23, but Neymar at 20, Mbappe at 6th. That alone, I think, is probably the craziest one I have seen. Where's all this disrespect coming? And we talked about how PSG somewhat hurts the optics of a career. Certainly that did with Neymar, but there's no chance in hell that you have Kylian Mbappe already at 6th in the 21st century over a lot of these players. But Neymar? My God.
This is ridiculous. Another ESPN FC catastrophe because they don't know anything about ball. Neymar, top 20 in this century? Like, what the fuck are we doing? Neymar has an argument for top 20 ever. Neymar is that good.
So Kaká with a Ballon d'Or 19.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're doing. Like, this Toni Kroos is getting all this love out of nowhere. Phenomenal player. But what are we doing? Just because he had a good Euro, like he's all of a sudden one of the best players of all time? No. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, good player. Neymar? No. Ronaldinho, great, phenomenal, but less of a career than Neymar. I said it. Yeah. I mean, most of these guys aren't anywhere near his level. Ronaldo, Messi, clear, sure. And then I think it's Neymar. I think Neymar's 3, and you put him at 20. I mean, it's absurd. Maybe he didn't have the longevity. Maybe you don't like the fact that he played at PSG or he's gone to Saudi Arabia. Fuck that. He's Brazil's all-time leading goal scorer. He's got more goals and assists than anybody on this list except for the top 2. He's won a Champions League. I mean, he did it at Santos. He was on the Ballon d'Or podium as a 19-year-old playing in Brazil. I mean, he's done it all. He's won Olympics. He just hasn't won the World Cup. And most of these guys haven't done that either. Kylian Mbappe, phenomenal player. Get him anywhere outside of the top 15 because he's 25 years old and just has not done enough yet. He will for sure climb up that list, but you can't do that now. And
this is like projecting Mbappe for the end of his career, not where he is now.
I mean, this list sucks. I love Carlos Puyo. I'm a huge Barcelona fan. I'm a center back by trait. Puyo is one of my favorite players to watch. His highlight reel is outstanding. But no, he's nowhere near this level. Sergio Ramos is miles better player all time than Carlos Puyo. And there are plenty of center backs who are much, much more talented. So this list sucks. I mean, Gianluigi Buffon's the only goalkeeper on here. I mean, Iker Casillas, who? Did he not exist? Did he not play? Did he not win 2 Euros, a World Cup, Champions League after Champions League? I mean, he's, if not the best goalkeeper of all time, he's right there. And you're going to have him outside of the top 25? I mean, what the fuck are we doing? This list is terrible. It's horrible.
Yeah, this is a pretty dog shit list. Let us know what you guys think of the worst number you see here. I'm sure everybody notices something different in terms of people being above others, and yeah, it's not the greatest list. So just let us know in the comments what you're thinking when you saw this one, or what one stood out to you here. But of course, as we love to do, let's get into some U.S. soccer here, Mike. We are on the eve of a Olympic start date for the U.S. men's soccer team here. By the time this releases, it'll be kind of the start of that game. The U.S. will be playing France in their first game. That would be a very tough game for them. France is obviously the favorites to win this, and one reason to watch France is kind of also the update in our manager search for the senior national team, as Thierry Henry is the French U23 national team coach. So if you want to watch both the U.S. men's team and a lot of these players that are coming up that you might see in the future on the national team, as well as potentially our coach moving forward, we'll see what happens. But Thierry Henry, TT, is certainly rumored with the squad here. It'll be an interesting clash there. Mike, what are you wanting to see from Thierry Henry that would make you convinced, or is there no real way with how light his resume is to convince you that he'd be a good shot for manager here? I've seen his name quite a bit. A lot of Frenchmen getting into this conversation.
I don't think there's really anything I'm going to see that would convince me he's the right guy for the job. No disrespect to TT. Love him. Great personality, phenomenal player. Manager career has been very rocky to start. And if France comes out and blows us away, I don't think that says too much about his managerial prowess. I think they're just a much more stacked team. They're the host nation. They're playing in France. And we're a young roster who hasn't played a whole lot together. So I don't know what I could see that would really give me confidence that he's the guy.
Yeah, I mean, certainly got the aura, but the managerial experience is not quite there. If he does end up winning gold medal here and looks amazing, I think that gives him slightly more in his corner. But I will say, yeah, that's not how he's going to be with the U.S. He's never going to have the most talent in a tournament. So, I mean, certainly a good tick on his resume, but maybe not exactly what the U.S. would be needing. Nevertheless, a lot of Frenchmen recognized by USS Soccer or U.S. Soccer reporters. Wilfred Nancy was asked, as the head coach of the MLS All-Star Game, he was asked about his interest in the U.S. men's national team head coaching position, and he said, I have interest in everything. I'm very interested in everything, every challenge. So, I mean, he's been beating around the bush quite a bit with the questions. But, I mean, he didn't say no. He showed interest, and why would he not, really, if, you know, it is a rather large step up for him. So I'm sure he would have interest. It sounds like he is somewhat in that circle if some reports are to be believed. But then also Hervé Renard and Patrick Vieira. Is the French the way to go for the U.S. here? We just oui.
I
I mean,
if the names are good, there's a lot of good French managers. I don't see why not.
yeah, it's looking like if you're betting on a nationality, American may not actually be the favorite for this the U.S. job. And if you were to say that a couple years ago, that would be wild, considering the U.S. Soccer Federation is very much so about American managers. But Matt Crocker has made it clear he's going for the best one. He's going for a serial winner and someone who's proven. So that's opening up the nationalities and closing down the American one. Mike, let's run through Olympic roster. What do we want to see starting roster? Obviously, by the time people are listening to this, they may have already started watching that French game. But obviously, we have two other games here. What are we thinking is the best lineup here for the U.S.? I mean, I think the critics would say you start with Schulte in net. You have Caleb Wiley coming off of Chelsea. You have to go with all your overage players, Robinson, Zimmerman, and Mihailovic. And are you just building around there? Or are you what's your thoughts on this lineup here that you're seeing from the Olympic side?
Yeah, I think you go Schulte for sure. More experience than Slanina, and you go Zimmerman and Robinson as your center backs for sure. You have to. I think they're the best players, definitely the most experienced. I'd go Wiley and Tolkien as my outside backs. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think Wiley on the left is a good shot. I think Tolkien could be on that left side as well. And then I think Nathan Harriel also has a shout for right back just because he is maybe a more natural right back, a very versatile player. But I think Caleb Wiley and John Tolkien would be the most talented grouping you could make of the outside backs, in my opinion. But yeah, so I say Wiley and Tolkien would be a good shout.
That's my shout. I've watched John Tolkien play a decent amount in New York. I like his game. And for the midfield, I think Georgie has to be in there as an overage player.
Yeah.
And then I'd go with the Venezia combo with Busio and Tessman, at least to start. Chemistry reasons. They're definitely more experienced than Kramashi and McGlynn. Handful of caps between them at a senior level. And I think chemistry is something to factor in. If it doesn't work, then you adjust. But to start with, that's what I go with.
Yeah, I think you have to go with the Busio Tessman duo just because of that chemistry and how short this kind of get together is. Georgi Mihailovic, bringing him in as an overage player, it would be interesting to say the least to not start him. I do think that we've seen Diego Luna now added to the MLS All-Star roster. He's been absolutely killing it in the MLS. He got plenty of goals and assists. I would have liked to see him be able to play a role in this, and I think it also opens up some rotation where you don't feel like you're forced to play a Georgi Mihailovic. You're not forced to play Diego Luna at the 10. You could play him out wide. You could do a lot of things, but I think Jack McGlynn also has a shout to start in this one. But the problem is, I think the forwards here, Mike, Jack McGlynn is great at playing in balls behind. He has a great kind of sniper type pass, but you're playing with potential Paxton Aronson, Taylor Booth, Duncan McGuire, Kevin Paredes, or Griffin Yao, and none of them are really pace demons other than Kevin Paredes. The rest are just kind of more technical players, or Duncan McGuire is kind of just that big man classic 9. So, those balls in behind from Jack McGlynn, I just don't think resonate much with this group. Obviously, a Cade Cowell, who had been a staple in this group, looking awfully good in Mexico right now. 3 goals and an assist in 3 games to start off the season. Is that what this team might miss here? We have a lot of smaller technical players, but no real bruiser pace guy to get in behind.
Yeah, that's a player I wanted to see go. The handful of times I've watched the youth team, I've seen him, and he's been great. I liked him at San Jose. Haven't been keeping tabs too much in Liga MX, but I love his game. I think he fits with these guys well. I think he plays off Paxton particularly well. They have some sort of understanding. So I think they will miss him. But that being said, it's still a good group of players. Those 5 guys, I think even without too much depth at the striker position, they can figure out a 3 that'll work.
Yeah, I mean, certainly Paxton Aronson, if Duncan McGuire's not firing, although I think he'll be the one to start up top, Paxton Aronson has played that number 9-ish, false 9-ish role in the youth teams because for their age group, there really wasn't a star striker that took that spot. So they played with just kind of a shit ton of 10s. And that's exactly what they're doing here, I'm sure, with Paxton Aronson, Taylor Booth, both kind of 10s, kind of wingers, and then Kevin Paredes out wide will certainly start. I think he'll be one of the stars you look at to kind of carry this team out wide playing for Wolfsburg. Griffin Yao may get the start. I think he might be a good person off the bench, just good at dribbling, good off people taking off the dribble. So see if he can bring in a spark off the bench. But Mike, what are your expectations for this Olympics? They have France in their group, but also Guinea and New Zealand. So you'd imagine they maybe get through, but if they don't get first in the group that they're playing in the knockout round, in the first round, is one that includes Argentina, most likely, if Argentina top their group, or if somehow the U.S. beat out France, or Argentina don't get first, they will be playing Morocco, most likely. Is it the same as Copa America, where you're kind of just hoping get out of the group and see what happens, or what is the expectation for the Olympic team here? What do they need to do off of the Copa America defeat and getting some momentum back here?
Olympics are tough, especially when you bring in overage players, and the U.S. is bringing in these overage players. Not our best foot forward. A lot of countries brought a lot bigger names, but my expectation is compete, get out of the group. France is a tall task. Getting a result would be massive. I don't expect that to happen. But New Zealand's very beatable, not bringing any senior players except for a center back, I believe. I looked through the roster. And then Guinea, a solid team. Naby Keita in the mix, obviously the Liverpool man or ex-Liverpool man. But I think we compete. I think we maybe even edge out either of those teams. So if we get results there, the France shouldn't matter. That game shouldn't matter too much. And then it gets tougher, but it can't get much tougher than France, I don't think.
You gotta hope to just get to the knockouts and see where that can take you. Obviously, keep in mind the U.S. U23 team would be able to include a Pepe, a Balaka, and a Musa, a Reina. A lot of the people that are playing for our senior team, those people not released due to clubs. This is not a FIFA sanctioned event, so clubs do not have to release their players for this. A lot of players, even in MLS, probably would have been able to come to this. That would have been better than some of these players, but not released. So keep that in mind, that this is maybe not the absolute, this is our next generation, these are our best next up. A lot of them just have not been released here, but this is still a decent group here. They should be able to get out of the group and see what they can do and make some noise. They've done well in tournaments before. But let us know what you think expectations of them should be. Who do you think is going to be maybe a breakout player here for the U.S. and the Olympic team, and who's going to earn themselves potentially a transfer to a larger stage? Mike, any closing thoughts here?
Good luck, lads. I'm excited. Been a while since we've seen a USA team in the Olympics. Tune in. It's on Peacock, so all the reason in the world to watch, unless you're at work. Watch anyway. I will. Wink, wink. Let's go, lads.
All right. We will see you next time with all the updates for the U.S., for transfers, and for everything else. Peace.